Hello, English students. Today we're going to be learning about P paragraphs. I know it's kind of a silly name for this idea, but it's actually a really good way of breaking down a larger idea or a paragraph. So the structure of a P paragraph can be broken down into a point, evidence, and an explanation. That's what P stands for. So the point comes close to the beginning of the paragraph, and it sums up or is the main idea of that paragraph. What's that paragraph going to be talking about? The first E for evidence gives an example from real life, or if you're talking about a book, maybe from that book or that text, that demonstrates or shows what the point you are making is. And finally, the last E, explanation, is sort of the why does this matter? How does your evidence demonstrate the point that you were making earlier? And why is this connection important? So now let's look at a paragraph together that is arguing for school uniforms. So first let's read the paragraph. Students should have to wear uniforms because uniforms make all students equal. At schools without uniforms, some students can't afford expensive clothes. These students might be seen as less cool than other students or be excluded from some groups. School uniforms create a safe space where you can't judge a person just by what they wear, and therefore create a more equal school environment. So here we can see that the point, evidence, and explanation are each highlighted in yellow for the point, green for the evidence, and blue for the explanation. So when we look at the point, and remember the definition again, the point is close to the beginning of the paragraph and sums up the main idea of that paragraph. We can see that this sentence, students should have to wear school uniforms because school uniforms make all students equal, does appear right at the beginning of the paragraph and is the main idea that the rest of this paragraph is about. The green now, the evidence, is showing an example from real life that supports that point. All students should have to wear uniforms. So it shows that at schools without uniforms, some students can't afford nice clothes. These students might be seen as less cool than other students or be excluded from some groups. So that's demonstrating, showing why that point is true in real life, the yellow point that we identified at first. And then finally, we get the explanation, the part that is showing why does this matter and explains, the explanation explains the connection between the yellow point and the green evidence. So school uniforms create a safe space where you can't judge a person just by what they wear, and therefore create a more equal school environment. So I want us to try doing one more paragraph together and seeing if we can identify the point, evidence, and explanation for a paragraph that argues, I believe Kobe Bryant is a national hero. So let's take a look at that paragraph. So one of the main reasons Kobe Bryant should be considered a national hero is because he was always one of the hardest working athletes in the NBA. For example, he would wake up for an extra workout at 4:30 a.m. on many mornings before starting his regular training with his team. There were many days when teammates would show up to breakfast to find Bryant already there, smiling and dripping from sweat from his early morning workout. This dedication was inspiring to many fans of the sport and cements his status as a true hero who is willing to lead by example. So take a minute now and see if you can identify the point, that is being made in this paragraph, the evidence, and the explanation. Okay, so if you need more time, you can go ahead and pause the video now. But if you're ready to work together to see what the point, evidence, and explanation are, then let's get started. So let's remind ourselves again, the point, which we're going to highlight in yellow this time, is close to the beginning of the paragraph and sums up the main idea of that paragraph. So here we see the point in this paragraph is just that first sentence. It's usually very easy to identify because it often is the first sentence. So one of the main reasons Kobe Bryant should be considered a national hero. So that's the argument that's being made. He should be considered a national hero. And this is because he was always one of the hardest working athletes in the NBA. So we're going to go ahead and highlight that main idea in yellow. So next, we're looking for the evidence that supports that point, that he's really hardworking. We're going to look for that evidence now. So we're looking for an example from real life, in this case from real life, that demonstrates that point. So let's see. Conveniently, the next sentence begins with, for example. He would wake up for an extra workout at 4:30 a.m. on many mornings before starting his regular training with his team. So that is an example from real life that shows how hardworking he was. He'd get up extra early before any of his teammates. And the next sentence, we kind of have to decide, does that belong with this example? And to me it does, because it's expanding on that same example. So let's read it. There were many days when his teammates would show up to breakfast to find Bryant already there, smiling and dripping with sweat from his early workout. So to me, that's all part of that same piece of evidence that shows he's dripping with sweat because he woke up early and he's really hard working. That's giving evidence to support our point that he's one of the hardest working athletes in the NBA. So we're going to highlight that in green. And lastly, now we're looking for the explanation, the why does this matter? How does your evidence demonstrate your point? So we've got a last sentence here summing up kind of the main idea of our paragraph and showing how it connects to the evidence. This dedication, the dedication he shows is what this is talking about, the dedication of waking up extra early, was inspiring to many fans of the sport and cements his status as a true hero who is willing to lead by example. So that's connecting it to the big idea that he should be considered a national hero. So we're going to highlight this in blue. So now it's your turn to do this on your own. So using the following paragraph, which is also a Google Doc that you can get where this assignment is on Google Classroom, you can go through and actually highlight in the document or on paper if you want those sentences in yellow for the point, green for the evidence, and blue for the explanation. And if you like, I'll just read this paragraph with you so that we can read it together once. So, summer vacation should be much shorter because students forget too much over 2 months, the 2 months of summer. As an example, My friend Davari had excellent marks in French before the summer. After the summer, his French mark dropped to below 50%. This is a true story. And he said he had trouble remembering many of the verbs he learned the year before. This demonstrates that students would benefit from a shorter summer because they would remember more from the previous year and wouldn't have to spend as much time getting caught up for the new school year. So see if you can identify the point, evidence, and explanation and highlight them in the document in those colors.